How's going? How's going? It is I again, your boy TJ. Welcome to 2022. And in 2022, we've got our first guest of the year. And I'm going to tell you about him. But before I do that, I hope that you got your resolutions in place and you're kicking them already. And I'm hoping that you are going to be having all the success that you're going to have. And welcome to M5 Successful Friends. And today we've got, I don't know how to call you. A lot of people call you Doc. A lot of people, I've just known you as Zamo. And I'm like, okay, do I change now to call you Doc? Like,
Hello, TJ. How are you?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. How's it going?
Good, good. My name is Zama. I will always be Zama. Whether you call me dog, you call me whatever, but my name is Zama Gutle.
Where does the Doc come in from?
I'm a medical doctor by profession, so I think it comes from that.
Okay, cool. How long have you been practicing?
I've been practicing now for 12 years.
Okay, cool. And what made you to go into medical? I mean, out of any other things, I mean, we all grow up and we're being told you either need to be a doctor or you need to be a lawyer, teacher, maybe nurse. For you, where did being, going into the medical field? How did it start and how did it come to be?
It's a good and a bad kind of story for me. I lost my dad when I was 6 years old. He was so sick. I remember he was going in and out of hospital. What happened is that I realized that if maybe I was a doctor, I would have saved him because he went through to a lot of doctors, but eventually passed away. So I decided I'm going to be a doctor and make sure that I heal people. So it was from that time when I was doing grade 2 that I had that passion that one day I want to be a doctor and heal people. So I've been consistent with that dream, and wow, here I am now. 12 years of practicing, and I've healed a lot of people, and I'm still gonna heal.
Zamo the healer. Welcome. Good.
Thank you.
So who's Zamo Kulte? I mean, where are you from? And who are you? I mean, now we know that you're a doctor, and that's great. Being a doctor, you got something, and you're living your dream, your passion, which is basically to heal people out of all sicknesses. And I mean, salute to you in this time of COVID, together with your team and your practice. I'm sure you have seen so many cases there of COVID and other diseases that we're not even aware of that kill people all the time. But who is Zamo? Where are you from? Let's talk about it.
All right. Zamo is a young man from the kingdom of Eswatini. That's where I grew up. I did my primary school there, my high school. And then I came to South Africa because we never had a medical school that side. So I had to come to South Africa to do my matric and went to medical school, completed in 2006. And yes, I'm married, beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids. And I'm currently based in Middelburg in Mpumalanga. That's where I'm practicing. I am a medical doctor. We've spoken about it, and I'm also a businessman, and I'm an investor, professional property investor.
Good. You speak of coming through from Swaziland, and now you're residing in South Africa. I always tease all of my friends that are from Lesotho and Swaziland. I'm like, you're from South Africa, man. Your whole country is landlocked with South Africa. So let's just consider it as another province. and everyone says, no, it's not, it's a country.
Yes. I want to disagree, maybe Lesotho, but with us, remember, we still have a portion of Mozambique. So we're not completely in South Africa, and we are a country, yes.
Okay, good, good. All right. So, Zamo, you started off, you're a migrant, you moved based on education, and you found a home in South Africa. And does the foreign concept, being a foreigner, ever hit you to say, I'm a foreigner and maybe I cannot do this? Because South Africa, there's so many foreigners. I'm a foreigner as well. I found a home in South Africa as well. And does it ever cross your mind, especially from a perspective of saying, I can't do something? You're a businessman, you're a medical doctor, and you're a property investor.
No, it doesn't, TJ. To be honest with you, it has never. It's only when we start speaking about origins, like now, that I remember that, oh, I'm actually from Swaziland. Or when I go to Home Affairs, and then they'll remind me, but we are from Swaziland. But it has never stopped me from doing anything in terms of business, in terms of education, in terms of all aspects. All out just to try and make myself comfortable in this country, which has been very friendly to us. I'm sure you'd agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, how did you first earn your first money? The money that you put in the pocket, your first time ever money that you made. How did that come to be?
I've always been in love with money, to be honest. I remember when I finished my medical school, when we closed in December, when people went home and we were going to start in January to different hospitals where we were going to do our internship. Yeah. I stayed in Pretoria and started working already. So I would say I started earning money just before my internship. So by the time we had our first salaries, when everyone was excited that they got paid, I already had money in my pocket. So I had my first pay that December. When people went home, I stayed in Pretoria and worked for a doctor there. So that's where I got.
And what were you doing?
I was locoming as a GP.
Wow. Okay. Cool. That's interesting. And you speak about doing business. A lot of people, should I say, a lot of medical people that practice medical, I think they think that when they have a practice, they have a business. And I've always said to some of them, actually, you don't, because you have a practice, but your practice is actually hitting you hard because of taxes. You're a small business, and because of that, you are paying taxes around about 40%. You're paying an additional maybe 30 or so to your for your employees, or even slightly more. So combine, you kind of like running around about 60% on your full income. And I see a lot of people, they just open up their eyes like, no, that's not true. And I just go through that whole process with them, and then they're like, I never thought about it. But yeah, me and you, we come from the same education, where, being professional investors in different spheres. What do you think about people who practice medical and who are in that space of, they've left employment and now they started practicing, they think they have a business?
I think the most important part is to learn about the healthcare practice before you even go in. There's quite a lot of things, taxes included, that you need to know. There's a book by Dr. Hlombe that is almost a guideline on how to start your healthcare practice. I'd recommend that book for everyone that wants to start. And once they've gone through that book, then they will learn a lot, even the structuring of the practice, because there's quite a few vehicles that you can use to run the practice. So if you're going to go for an incorporated company, and then you can even benefit from small business tax benefits. So there's a lot of education that goes on with quite a lot of things, including property, everything. It's education is very key. So I would say they must just start learning about the business before they even go in. It makes things easy. Some of us went in, we didn't know anything, and we made a lot of mistakes, including losing money on taxes. So I would advise them to get the education first, get the book, read, and then speak to the right people.
Yeah, thanks on that advice. I started knowing you in the property space. And I've known you for a bit now. And why property?
To be honest with you, TJ, I never thought I'd be a professional property investor at some point. The reason I went into property was that I've always been that kind of a private person. I love my space. So what happened is when we came back, when we went for internship, we were supposed to share flats with other interns and all that. And I never liked that. That's when I decided I'm going to buy my own flat. And that's how I got my first property. That was a 1-bedroom flat in Witbank. But the main reason is that I just love to be in my own space.
Okay. And at the moment, what do you focus in? I mean, you've got a practice, you have your own practice in Witbank, and you also are a businessman, so you're quite busy. So how do you do this property investments? I mean, just going to buy property alone just takes a lot of time. So, but how do you do it then for you?
You're right. I'm very busy, and it can be very difficult. But now, because of the network, because of people like you that have given us the education, and now I don't have to go out there and do everything. We have M5 properties that will make things easy for us. They come with deals. We can also invest in that. So I don't have to do everything myself because of the network that I have. We have guys like Bruno, Zama, brokers that are always sending deals to us that we can have a look and go into them. I've done my own deals, but at this stage, it's not easy for me to run around and look for deals. So I rely on the network of the people that I've met in the space.
Yeah. And when you started off initially, I mean, you first bought your first property on the basis that you are going to live there based on the comfortability that you were looking for at the time. What were your stumbling blocks initially when you started off?
All right. When I started, I had no education at all, so it was easy for the estate agents to convince me. I bought from the developer, and to be honest with you, that flat was a liability. I only got rid of it last year. From 2007, I've been losing money from. So it was a painful lesson. I've learned that. Without education, it becomes very difficult. So I just bought, and I never even stayed in that flat. So I rented it out and started losing money from this very same month that tenant went in. So that was one stumbling block, that I didn't have the education. It's only when I started learning that I realized that I shouldn't even have bought that flat.
Right. What do you focus in property? I mean, you speak of people like us, people like Bruno that pushes deals to you. I mean, you're not special. Anyone can do that. They can get deals on their emails. You just need to know the right networks and the right people.
Yeah.
But for you, what do you focus in? What do you do in the property space?
Mine is a kind of mixed portfolio, I would say, because I have 2 medical centers where I have healthcare professionals that are renting. So that is also part of my portfolio. I also do rent to buy, and I also have multi-let. So it's a mixed kind of portfolio for now. But going forward, I'm going to get buy to lets. That's what I think I'll do.
Okay. And why do you focus on buy-to-let?
I think they have, especially now that I'm looking at a nice steady cash flow that I want to put aside for my kids, for my daughter just started high school now, and before you know it, she'll be at varsity. So I want a steady kind of cash flow that I'm just gonna put aside and save for varsity and my retirement as well.
But you're a doctor. But everyone would think that. I mean, all my doctor friends, they drive fancy cars, including you. Right? They stay in very beautiful houses. And especially now with COVID, you guys are guaranteed income or you are guaranteed employment. I've never heard of a doctor who's ever been fired, or retrenched thereafter. You guys are always on demand. Your profession is one of those professions where we can't get rid of you. You choose to say, I actually don't want to work. And I mean, I've got a doctor in my area. He's in his late 70s and he's still practicing. So you're speaking about retirement, but your profession already cannot retire.
I'm going to be a different doctor because I am going to retire, TJ. I know this kind of job, it's really tiring. I always look at the guys that are at 70 years and they're still practicing, and I ask myself, is it because of the passion or because they are under pressure? But I want to retire at some point and enjoy my money. So I've set up an age where I'm going to retire, but I'm preparing for it. That's why I need different streams of income. I'm not going to only rely on being a doctor to get a nice, good package for my retirement. I'm looking at different streams of income. That's why I'm doing this property thing. That's why I'm having another business that does medicals and wellness programs in different companies. So yes, at some point I will, and it's not gonna be at 70, I can assure you.
I like that. So you're basically busy, being a businessman, being a doctor, and all of these things. And now on top of that, you've got a wife, and you've got she's almost like a pre-teenager. She is a teenager, 13, starting high school. Same age with my boy. Where do you find the time to balance family, business, and all of this? Because I get a lot of people that come in and they say, like, look, I can't do this because I've got family, I've got kids, I've got that, and I can't do this. I can't do this business. And here is someone like you're balancing it out. If there is a way that's called balance, how do you do it?
It's not easy, I must say. It can be tiring even with the family that you are always out. But what I've decided, I've sat down with them and explained that this is what I'm gonna be doing now for the near future. But what I've done, I've made sure that weekends, Saturday and Sunday, I don't work. That's when I spend time with them. I've dedicated 3 full weeks in a year where we go out for a family holiday, just to make sure that I have quality time with them. So weekends I'm with them unless, of course, there's an emergency or something. But I always try to make sure that on weekends I can be busy during the week, sleep very late, sleep in the mornings, but Saturday and Sunday, I make sure that I'm with them. And then we have those 3 weeks where we just go out for 7 nights as a family. Those are family holidays.
When you started off, I'm sure you were thinking that, especially in your property space, there were things that you were thinking that if I do this, I'm going to get this kind of benefits. And you were chasing for maybe 1 or 2 things. You started off what, in 2007 with your bed investment that you now eventually sold off. But along the journey, now you're buying these complexes where you now have medical practices coming in, and one of your practices also there, and you're renting out to other doctors. and that's one of your portfolio. And then on the other side, you're doing also the residential, the buy-to-lets. Now, what benefits are you beginning to see, if there is any benefits at all that you have seen so far on your journey?
There's definitely benefits that I'm seeing. I'm seeing nice positive cash flow. I can't wait for month end. I always look forward to month ends where I'll be seeing money coming into the account and then looking at how can I reinvest, what else can I do with the money. But the benefits are there, teacher, and I can't wait to grow my portfolio. I'm looking at getting 2 or 3 properties this year just to make sure that I expand that portfolio so I can get more cash flow and try and reinvest and prepare for the near future.
Yeah. Is there a deal that maybe you can share with our viewers? Because, you are one of very few people, a lot of people that come through to this show, they are very much around in residential. But you're doing something a little bit different. Do you mind if we jump in maybe into one of these deals, especially the complexes one where you have, other medical professionals coming in to be on there? Just walk us through how you bought it, how did you turn it around, and what is it in an area, and why did you think to go that route instead of going the tradition? And the tradition for many people is just residential. And I'm always telling people that there's different asset classes within property, but you got to find your niche. Maybe open up our minds a little bit.
All right. Like I said, mine is a mixed portfolio. So I sat down and I looked at the cash flow that I was getting from the residential properties. And yes, it is positive cash flow, but not that much. So I looked and when I first bought my medical center in Mhluzi, I decided because it's in the location, let me just add more services for the people. Then we got x-rays, we got a dentist in one building, we got a physio. And when they started paying the rental at the end of the month, and I like, no, this can really work. If I can get something bigger and get more healthcare professionals, I can easily make 20,000 per month from just the rental. So I got an opportunity in a town called Belfast. I decided to go to the location again because I had seen it working where I am. And this was an old building that I was told by a friend that there's a lady that was selling this old building. I went and had a look. It was an old building that was, she had tenants that were staying there. I think there were 3 or 4 of them, but she was not taking care of the building. So I sat down with her and told her, listen, I can change this into a nice medical center. But she was pressed for money, so she ended up selling it to me for 350,000. And when I walked in, because I had the experience, I had already a medical center. When I walked in, I could see all the rooms being occupied by different healthcare professionals, and I saw my money there immediately. So I renovated the building and got all the healthcare professionals. We have a pharmacy full-fledged that is running there. We have a radiographer that does x-rays. We have a physio. We have a dietitian, and we do also medical. So all these healthcare professionals are paying rent to me, which is close to 19,600 per month. And
well done.
yes, it's one deal that took me to the finals in the investors competition last year.
Right. How much did you spend in renovations? So you bought it for 350.
Yes, renovations were 160,000.
Right. So 350 in additional 160. So you run about 510 there, and yes. Boom, on a 19K, you solidly cash flowing. Nice, man.
Very done. Nice. Yeah.
Well done.
It's a deal I'm proud of.
Yeah. Now I like that. I like that. Having said that, when you started doing properties, I'm sure maybe you might have had 1 or 2 things that you underestimated. But when you look back now, what is that the one thing that you think as a property investor should be key?
I'll repeat and repeat education, TJ. You need to be educated with this. You need to attend these webinars. You need to attend these workshops. If there's a chance of attending a course with any institution, you need to. With the education, you will realize that you will have less mistakes. I saw my mistakes the first time I attended the workshop on property, and I realized that without the education, it becomes very difficult. And the nice thing about this education is you get to meet people like you. Because if I didn't go for, I remember when I first met you, we went to, it was a show and tell. And I went there and I learned a few things, but I met you and now you've become one very important contact for me. So the education helps with the network as well. So education, network, then you'll never go wrong.
Yeah. I'm also pressing on people to say this is what you need to do. And sometimes you need to repeat the same stuff.
Yes.
It's like a Bible. The Bible is the same.
Yeah.
And it has been the same throughout the years, but you read it today whilst you're in a different position, you start seeing things differently.
True.
And you read it again whilst you've got so much money and you're in your comfort. Again, you see something totally different, and that's what property education, or rather personal improvement education. If you're running a business now, you also need to be pushing there to understand how do businesses, how are they run. Once we are talking about businesses, Zamo, do you have a book maybe in the last couple of months, years, that you think that it literally revolutionized your thinking in terms of business, right? In terms of how can you do business better?
Yes, it's not just it's a property business book. I'm a big fan of Jason Lee. So so I've been reading the Retire Rich Through Property, and I've been reading the Making Money Out of Property in South Africa. I like the fact that it's related to the South African market, but that's one book I'll really recommend for someone that wants to go into the property business.
If we were to look back, the day that you got your passport and you were jumping over the border and you were coming to South Africa and you saw the lights in Johannesburg, well, you said you were in Pretoria, and you saw all these beautiful girls and you're like, yo, South Africa is different. Because coming from a smaller country and coming into a big town as a boy, it's so mesmerizing. I remember at the airport at one point, my cousin says to me, "You're gonna break your neck," because I was just looking everywhere. You know what I mean? I was mesmerized. But if we had to take back, if we had to take you back at that moment, and you were just coming into the country, and what advice would you give that guy? You're coming in, you got your backpack, you got nothing else, and you're coming into a new town. What would be the advice that you'd give yourself to say, with what you now know now, having practiced a doctor for 7 years, you're now doing other businesses, you're a property investor, you're married, you got a teenage child who's going into high school. In waste time, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, I would advise any young man that will be coming in to be disciplined, stop breaking their neck, looking at girls like TJ used to do. I'd say it's just discipline and focus. Once you have your goals, you just have to keep focusing on them. And then the nice thing about South Africa is that the ground is level for everyone. If you have your goals and your vision, it's easy to achieve things this side compared to the countries that we're coming from, where there's other things that are really stumbling blocks. So I'd say the first thing would be discipline, then the next thing would be to focus, then a third thing would be the education, and then it's easy to achieve your goals if you disciplined and you focused.
You know, when I look back at my time of being a young man coming up, I think the one thing that I could possibly talk to is the time that I spent on creating liabilities, right? And a lot of people, you might not understand what liabilities is. Liabilities is basically things that you put upon yourself, and those things take away value from you. That's a liability. An asset adds on. So my relationship with Zamo is an asset because we're adding onto each other's lives. But if we were negative people, if we meet just wrong stuff going on, that's a liability, right? And I think I created a lot of liabilities in my younger self. I'll spend a lot of time watching telly. I'll spend a lot of time doing stuff that was not building my productivity. And by the time I started realizing that, hold on, I have no assets at all. I don't want to say it was too late, but I always think back to say, had I done this a little bit younger, I could have been much further, right? And that one is my self advice I could give to myself then. You have seen so many property investors, those that are successful, those that are not, those that are starting. But I want to speak to those that you have seen over a long period of time, and they're killing it, versus those that you have also seen it over a long period of time, and they're just flat, right? They bought one building in 2000, and that's it. So those that are doing successful versus those that are not, what do you think separates them? What's the differentiator there? And the same thing could be said somewhere as well. Sorry, man, to cut you off there. The same thing could be said about doctors.
Yeah.
You know, you're a doctor, you practice, but you're a businessman as well, and you're pushing. I've got a couple of investors who are doctors as well. They come through and then they do this. But if I look, some of them, they're just hard at working. And when I look at some of them, they're hard at working and getting assets to work for them, or getting their money to work harder for them. And in your view, what do you think separates the two?
I think it will boil down to your vision, your goal, and the appetite as well. Because like you said, we do have doctors that are comfortable in staying in a one-bedroom flat, drive a simple car, and they're fine with that. But some of us are very, very ambitious. And from the onset, we just wanted to achieve things. We wanted to see ourselves living a very nice life, not only now, but also in the near future. So you have people that are not that ambitious, that are just comfortable. Like you said, they'll buy one property in 5 years. That's okay for them. But some of us are very, very ambitious, and we have a huge appetite for success. Then we are pushed to get at least 2 or 3 properties a year and make sure that the portfolio increases year by year.
What drives you, Zamo? What makes you to have that ambition?
Like I said, when we started, I lost my dad when I was 6, and I saw my mom struggling raising us. We were 4 siblings, and that has made me look at life in a different way. When I look at my 2 kids now, I look at them and I'm like, I don't want them to go through what we went through. So that's one thing that is really driving me. I want to, first, I want to live a nice, soft life. It's important for me. But at the end of the day, I want them to also be comfortable when I'm not around. I want them to go to my grave and say, this man really tried to make things easy for us.
So it's, you are driving legacy. That's what you're driving.
Definitely.
I like that. Well done. Well done so far in your journey. Before I ask you the last question that I want to ask you, where is your practice?
My practice Okay, my practice is in Middleburg, Mhluzi. It's a medical center, like I said.
Yeah.
We have a dentist, we have a physio, we have a prosthetist, we have X-rays, and I'm the doctor there. So we are at the location Mhluzi Extension 8. We are on Facebook, Touch of Life Medical Center. That's the name of the medical center. But there's also another one in Belfast. That is our other branch, where we have all the other healthcare professionals. But people can follow us on Facebook, Touch of Life Medical Center. We are there, and www.touchoflife.co.za.
Where do you want to take Touch of Life?
I want Touch of Life to be a brand, just like, I don't know if you've heard of Prime Cure, Medicross, those kind of medical centers. That's my vision. I want Touch of Life to be everywhere and be seen.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure in a matter of time, we're going to get there. You know, I always say to people that come into a different town, you came with a bag. That's what you came with, on your back. But look at you now. You got a car, you got a house, you got a beautiful wife, and all of those things. So well done to you. That is number one. What does success look like for you?
Okay, I'm looking at different aspects of, I call them aspects of wealth. So it will be definitely the money, the nice life, the legacy.
You know, Zama, like you don't beat around the bush about this one. People.
But I also feel there's also a social responsibility. That's what I do a lot. I do community projects. I do sponsor schools, and we do have soccer tournaments, Touch of Life soccer tournaments. So it's different aspects of wealth that are really important to me, but it's not just the money. I also want to do other things, and that's why I'm calling them aspects of wealth. There's different things that are really important to me, so that are making me happy. If I go out there and do a donation in a school shoes, when I come back, I have a nice peaceful sleep because I've done something that is part of my wealth aspect.
Amazing stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Zamo today. Well, Dr. Zamo for you. He is my Zamo, but Dr. Zamo for you. And he is coming out talking about his journey. And thanks for watching, if you've been with here all the way from the start and listening to him. But I want to ask you a question, you, the audience, right? What is the question that you would like to ask the doctor? And I am sure he'll be able to respond to you as well, but we can also respond to you. In the comments below, you can tell us whether you enjoy this or what are some of the things that you want to hear from the doctor, especially on his journey of managing buying and managing his properties. He does it differently, very much different from what I do. But again, property has different asset classes. It's been great hanging out with you. We will check you out on the next video.